Hey, Kyle, you don't need me up there, right?
We don't do thank you.
Morning. Call personnel meeting to order. First. Business is accept the minutes from the August 10th meeting. So moved. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, okay. All here.
Okay, I'll go through our straight backfill requests. Again, this is informational only, so aging had an aging services aide resign on August 30th. And the aging services aide per diem transferred to that part-time position, which made the, that position vacant. Oh. For buildings and grounds, we had a building maintenance helper vacated due to a termination, which was civil service related, so. And the other one was vacated due to a resignation. For county attorney, the law intern vacated due to the temporary status of that position. DPW, we had a carpenter 2 vacate due to a promotion, and then a highway 3 vacated due to a resignation. For DSS, a social services examiner promoted to a senior, so that was vacant. For the sheriff's department, we do have a cascade happening here, so this will need your approval. So correction administrator vacated, which in turn will move an assistant correction administrator up. And then a senior CO, which in turn would leave a vacant correction officer. This would all be due to promotion, so we do need approval on those.
Motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, question, why does this need a committee approval? It's due motion, it's cascaded. And then department.
It's what we've done in the past with cascades. Yeah. We don't.
So it's
we have
Committee
to.
decided that they didn't need to approve that,
That's
right? It's just reporting to that.
Okay.
To the committee.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is a reporting too.
Well, I'll take the vote then.
Okay.
All in favor?
No, there'll be no question.
I'm gonna skip down to the part where it says sheriff. We wanted to discuss an adjustment to the salary of the correction administrator position. We're proposing 83,933 as the new base. The current basis is 75,833. The 83,933 is what the correction administrator was making, so there would be no budget impact. So we're just asking for your consideration on that.
Why?
The person that's moving up, the amount is kind of very close. It wouldn't be really a promotion, so to speak.
But the responsibility is a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, that job.
Didn't answer.
and it oversees the whole jail.
Like being the warden.
position, so-
Yes, but I mean, you just asked us to move it $8,000 and didn't say why, so I'm asking why.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? There's need to be. All in favor?
Aye.
Right,
Oh,
Okay, we'll so back to the DA. This was moved from public safety. There was a request for an employee vacation adjustment. And in turn, there was a discussion on possible policy change, which is on the back of your sheet. There has been no change to that. That is just what it is currently in the handbook. So I guess I'm not sure which direction we want to go in first.
Well, so I don't know how many were in that connotation of public safety, but my understanding was really comes down to the vacation time and whether or not this caveat where we don't touch vacation time. Needs to be there.
So I think that the original request, when the DA came to the committee, It was for a specific employee that he currently has on staff.
Right.
That he was looking to, have an exception to the current policy to reinstate that person the 5 days vacation. In order to retain, and give that person the vacation time they would have had they not left county employment 7 years ago. So that was the original request, and then I think on top of that, the discussion went into whether or not we wanted to look at the overall policy and make a change to that.
All decisions, I think, had to come here. Right?
Yeah. So again, I'm not proposing making exceptions to policy because it just really gets a hold of you and can expand way out of the way. Once you get the finger in the dike, it's gonna break. So I think we're doing, we need to address the policy itself once and for all and not do it again. I know we said once and for all a long time ago.
But that's what we're doing with that's the highlighted area is a restatement of the policy of how it was originally. Because that would cover that, and that way there would be no questions and there shouldn't be exceptions. There will still be people who ask for waivers.
That's how it is now.
What's that?
That's how it is now.
Yeah.
You have
Just
highlighted.
using
Yeah,
that.
highlighted, how
How
it
it is now. I thought this was how we were fixing.
So this is the current.
The last sentence of the highlight is what is the key piece, I think, that we're talking about. Which is the employee's anniversary date will be the latest date of hire, and benefit leave time will accrue as if it was a new employee.
The other thing that plays into this paragraph too is that the employee that leaves and comes back to the same department. Whereas the one in question left another department, came back to Tony's department, so.
I sort of feel blame in some of this because I'm sorry, I started the 18-month thing here and that moved probably 6 months ago or so. We made the change that did this, and probably that was short-sighted. We probably should have looked at the whole policy at that time. Al and I were talking yesterday about what the policy was back when he came, and it was pretty similar when I first came, and then it changed almost for a personal reason. Well, I mean, they may as well be tell it like it is. They were, sort of mad at somebody and said, all right, we'll fix you, watch this, and they changed the policy. And I put it back a little bit. I probably should have done a little more research and gone back to where it was and maybe address the whole thing. I think we need, a small group to sit down and look at this policy, and I think that group maybe should include Al if you can find the old handbook.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when, I know that it's not 1994, but when I came in 94, the handbook that was in place then, if you came back within a year, everything went back as if you had never left. So it literally was just, they literally went back to however you were when you left. Benefits, pay, staff grade, everything left, everything went back magically as if you had never walked out the door.
And I would.
So that's what the original,
And it doesn't matter, if it's the same department or not.
nope, it was just come back to the county within a year and everything went back as if you never left.
And I would argue for 18 months instead of a year.
But I mean, that's a very clean way to kind of, because you're not, anytime, Roger has this famous saying, every time you draw a line, somebody's gonna be on the other side of it. But that was a very,
Yep.
clean down and dirty. Come back to us and we'll set you back as you were. I mean, that was a very no nonsense policy.
I believe that part of that was you didn't have the training costs.
Right.
Right.
Regardless, even
So,
if
yeah,
come
you
back
might
to the
have-
same,
You maybe gave up a little money, but you didn't have the training.
you didn't even have to come back to the same department. The county welcomed you back as if you had never left.
Same.
Just so I'm not confused on this, so I'm just concerned that if we go back and we add additional vacation time for time that was lost, are we gonna put department heads in a situation where they're gonna have to come to us and ask to extend it because a person is never gonna have time with the workload to take the vacation time, and we've encountered that many times. But I just don't know if we're creating a problem within that regard.
My personal feeling is that if we're bringing them back at the same step of longevity, That's the biggest cost. If we're keeping their, how we word it, the accrual time for benefit as originally, I mean, how much are we really talking about in the long run? I mean, it can't be a huge delta as compared to what we
Well, I think
actually
it's
are very
what-
generous in
I
doing.
think it's what Sam said, you've got so many more vacation days involved. Even if it's just 1, 2, or 3, and if you're a big department, you have 5 people, there's a lot of work spread out over that group. If you're a small department, it's 1 person, that can even be worse sometimes, because that 1 person that does just that job is missing for that many days. So I don't know the answer to it, it's probably according to each department, and I gotta believe a department head would weigh that, whether they brought that person back or not. If they thought it was gonna mess up their life, they're not bringing them back.
Well, but our policy's been if people want, the department has wanted, they come and they ask, and it's rationally given to them. So, you know, if I'm the department head sitting there, I say, okay, I want this person back because I know what they're gonna be able to do and accomplish. Now I gotta go and plead my case, hopefully that the supervisors will approve that. Because if they don't, now I've got a very unhappy employee.
I believe I'm extending it. Realistically, there has to be a reason, it has to be a work-related reason why they didn't take that. I mean, there may be some other illness reasons that they were out for 12 months and they still had vacation, couldn't take as they came back on anniversary day. But the problem still is their department to extend that, have to say this person did not have the time because he had this duty, this duty, this duty. They had this duty, this duty, this duty. It's not automatic to come and say that. Maybe it's our responsibility to make sure the department head is qualifying the reason for the not ability to take it. Like I had 20 people out and couldn't have another person out for the critical work mission. But that should be by the department head. We shouldn't just automatically stamp what the department head says. The department has to say, these are the reasons, these are why the reasons. And it shouldn't be the last minute thing. It should be, they should anticipate this at least a month ahead of time that this is going to be a problem.
We do receive requests because Melissa and I can approve up to 5 days of rollover vacation, where they would use it within the 3 months after their anniversary date. We have seen it come in for regions where they didn't have like 2 to 5 days as the average that comes for a request. And they seem, the department works with the employee and it seems to work out that way. But beyond the 5 days, it would be the board that would have to approve that.
We don't see a lot of that.
No,
And this is short term for
Right.
the first 2 months of that employee is there or something. It's not like a long-term systematic thing. And I don't know how many of these people we have, but I bet not more than 1 or 2. Maybe 5 or 6 that I know of in my history here. Not a massive.
It's not
Just gonna ask how large a group is it that would be hit by this policy change?
we would have to.
You're gonna have a few in the
Yeah.
sheriff's office,
Yeah.
for sure, that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, wherever they've gone and come back, it's
Right.
gonna be the opposite.
And follow-up question to that is, you've been here a long time, working this, are we stepping off a cliff somewhere that,
I don't think so. I would just ask that they mirror each other, right? So if you're gonna give the vacation back at a certain point for 18 months, that a person's been gone, that the step in longevity is the same. Because in the past, sometimes you split things and have different rules for different parts, and it just makes it extremely difficult to administer.
If everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Well, the value today of getting an employee back is even larger today and more important to have them come back because you got the training, you don't have training costs, we don't have recruitment costs. If we could even recruit into a person to take this job.
And I never see any union problem. Anybody else? The interest.
It's union number.
And I think your department head is gonna determine whether that person
Come back,
has the value to bring back.
Well,
And
To wrap up, if you're gonna continue to change the policy, you need to get rid of the part about the same job. Because you think you want them to come back to the county, so that's part B of the change.
I think what we're gonna have to do is is draft something up for you guys.
Or look at the old one
And
and see if it fits
And then
better.
have it come back maybe.
Just because we changed it didn't mean it got better.
Yeah, maybe do a little analysis.
Send it.
And
Is that
see
the
how
will
many
of the
would be
committee to-
affected.
Send it back again.
We have a few things in our handbook that were, we changed county policy around a singular event. We have a few of those things.
That's good, that a lot.
We're
No,
not-
we don't do that a lot. A lot of that was done in different segments.
But like I said, the original policy, and I'm sure we could find the language for you, it was much simpler. It didn't have all these if then statements. It was come back and we'll restate you as you were. It was very simple language.
Let's do our homework so that we do have one policy that fits everybody and we don't have three different mechanisms.
The language was, if an employee leaves county service and returns to county service, the anniversary date for county benefits purposes would be the date of their return, and all benefits will be figured using the return date from credit leaving for past service with suppression costs.
Look at you go. All these
That
points.
sounds simple to me.
That's what I mean, the
How many
language,
more meetings do we need on that? No, I'm thinking none.
What was the time?
To reinstate 3.006, if an employee leaves county service and then returns to county service, their new anniversary date for county benefit purposes will be the date of their return, and all benefits will be figured using the return date. No credit will be given for past service.
So that's what was changed.
That's what
that's
changed,
that's not the
That's not the
original.
original.
right?
That's as of 2014.
It was the prior to that, it was when I came in '94, it was a 1 year, no nonsense. Come back and it's like you never left. It's very simple language.
So
We can get it.
You're the one that changed that?
Keep the wordsmith.
I could not change it on my own. There was 16 other people.
We know how it happened now.
Question for the committee is if they're gonna do a rewrite on this back to the 90s. Do you want it 12 months or 18 months or no?
I want
it to
match.
18.
Okay.
And then we'll see how that will affect us and change it.
So that'll come back to the next personnel meeting,
Yeah.
which would be the
Not the
budget
budget.
workshop, would be the one after that. So the DA request
What's the,
would just be held off that.
Yeah.
what's the time frame on
Because
that?
then, because otherwise it looks like a one-off again.
Well, normally if it's important, we could do something before the budget meeting started. I mean, normally if you have issues that come up that we have to deal with, it, we could do it before the budget.
Sometimes
meeting
we do
started.
have things.
I mean, this really isn't critical, right? I mean.
What's critical to Tony?
It's.
And the lawyer's benefit is it's in the works and he understands we move slow.
Yeah, but lawyers also understand, but in the worst case, it could be
Takes time.
100 years.
Yeah, maybe as simple as that last sentence. Pops off.
Did you use that line? It's in the words.
It's important to us. I think it shows, it's an acknowledgement that we have potential challenges and that we value the people that are here. And that's been certainly a message that's been sent, and that's consistent, I think, over the last few numbers of years. So, yeah, I think that's, don't undervalue that. If it stalls out, I don't anticipate that.
So we can put a hold on your request till we solve this.
Yeah, no, I think the goal was not to do individual stuff. Yep, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Great thing out to the council. All yours, Brian.
Good to have. Yeah.
So move.
Yes,
Second by Kathy, all fair say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, department request, real property. This is.
Glasses are weak on it. Oh.
Yep, two resolutions
The A and C.
in your packet, A and B, yep. First one is a correction to a county tax bill, January that has quarterly levy on there. The additional house on the parcel. Removed. And back and forth, getting paperwork signed, but, so this is a little bit late than normal.
Motion for A.
Someone,
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. B.
And resolution number B is, to write off interest and penalties on a property that's actually owned by the people of the state of New York. With an unpaid tax bill that needs to have those removed so that they won't pay the bill because the state won't pay the interest and penalties.
Motion's to move. Second.
Second.
Darryl, any discussion? All fair say aye.
Aye.
I have a question. The state tells us we have to charge interest and penalties, but we can't charge the state.
Yes, it's kind of a double-edged sword, yeah.
Brian, interest and penalties on this bill we just corrected. That was a major screw up and the people were totally, they're very elderly, they didn't understand. And when finally somebody explained to them, and they knew they couldn't pay that bill, they just didn't have the funds. So now it's redone and they're happy, but they're getting charged for all the interest and penalties. And is there a way that we can forgive them because this was a screw up on GAR and
Moves it back on A.
A, yes.
I don't know the answer to that. You,
Don't normally,
I mean,
we had some because the assessors.
Another house, a ranch house
Right.
on their property, and they were getting charged for it, and they're
Right.
like, they were
They couldn't
totally
pay
lost,
no matter
they didn't
what.
understand until somebody
Right.
finally figured it
so
out.
it's our
We have
mistake.
forgiven some penalties.
Because
And
we
it's
have one.
been a
but not
long
the other.
drawn out affair with the assessment, getting paperwork in and everything else too, so it's just a communication thing, like you said, that they have a representative that's working with them. So,
Do we know what that number is?
And we,
I mean, if we caused the problem, we should fix the problem.
Exactly.
And Technically,
that's
guys,
a fairness, they should not be
Yeah,
charged.
that's kind of the way I would look at things.
Well, you
okay,
charge
so the
them
corrected,
100%
yeah, the
school
corrected
district
tax
well,
bill,
That wasn't unfair.
town-
They knew it when they bought it.
They had a poor.
Okay,
person.
that's not the
Oh.
problem. Now,
Larry,
about this
Larry.
one.
okay, so the town and county tax bill, I don't have a calculator right here, but there is, it'd be about $158. It's minimal.
About 350, about
Yeah.
346. and
Yeah.
change.
About 341 and yeah,
I'll make the motion to relieve the associated interest and penalties with this
Resolution.
resolution A.
I agree with you, but I think one of them, we have no ruling on. Which one is it now? Is it the interest or the penalties? We're talking about A.
oh, okay. Yeah.
So
They gotta, parliamentary. They reopen it and amend it.
so we gotta. What he said,
All right, so we finish,
the
gotta finish B, then go back to A.
the $346.52 of interest is what the law will allow you to relieve them.
5% penalty they're stuck with.
That 5% fee is not something of your, unfortunately.
So it's just the interest.
So the $346 in interest, you can use the same section of the law that we use for B. So you could go back to resolution A and offer an amendment to A to include that section of the law that allows for the interest and penalty write-off.
So you did A.
Do we need a motion to reopen A?
Well, yeah, can we come back? I want to continue with A.
If you want, if you're discussing B right now, continue discussion of B, reopen A.
Why don't we just
Well, we
approve,
vote on B
why don't we just approve B and go
Okay.
back to A?
Motion to, or vote on A, or B. All in favor, say aye.
I will move to reopen resolution A.
Second, that.
I have a question. Al, we have no control over the 5%
Yes, sir.
penalty. Somebody has to pay it. Can't the county pay it? Somebody has to pay it. Why does it have to be them?
So. The short answer is yes, there could. I would have to defer to council. I'm not entirely sure that we can use taxpayer funds to. To offset that. 5%.
Maybe the town of Hartford is there.
You're so cold blooded.
You know, well,
I would, we all pay it.
How much is 5%?
When we have things like Article 7 and small claims assessment challenges, every property owner has two choices to make. They can pay the bill and apply for a refund. Or if they let it ride, they are subject to the interest and penalties. The law is specific on that. And I understand that this was not a fault of the taxpayer, but 99% of all Article 7s are not the fault of the taxpayer. So while it feels cold, that's how it's prescribed in the law. So you are doing them a justice by relieving them of the interest. That is something that you control, and it's probably fair.
Of the $300, how much is the 5%?
No, that $346 is all interest. You're gonna relieve them of all of that.
Okay, but what is the penalty they're gonna have to pay regardless?
The portion of the bill that is the 5% is $206.
If it were me and I was the landowner. Wouldn't. No fault of their own. I don't know why they should have to pay it just because that's the way the law says.
so the question
Well, the
is,
part of the law, I mean, they can pay and get a refund after the fact, or they can go through their own correction process.
Well, if they pay and they get a refund, who gives them the refund? The taxpayers? So why can't we just leapfrog over that and go directly to
Refund.
Can you tell them if they just apply for the refund, they'll get it?
No, that what the.
No, because they didn't pay the bill, the
No.
bill's not paid.
they didn't have the money to pay the bill, because the bill was
So big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dan Chuck.
Yeah, something Danny just said is that through no fault of their own, this mistake, GAR made a mistake, but you know, I went through that revale in my town as well as you, Jay. And GAR made a ton of mistakes.
Yes, they did.
And we worked diligently with the people that anybody had a concern or a complaint, we worked with them. So if you let this ride, if you're the taxpayer, and I know they're older people, and I'm not trying to erase any of the wrong on this. They do have a level of responsibility to get it straightened out. And you could do it, you went through grievance, then there was the Article 7. Somebody didn't help them when they needed help. And it's not all on our shoulders. I mean, part of it has to be on their shoulders. And the fact that you're stepping up and gonna relieve some of the penalties, I think you've come a long way. But to erase them of any responsibility, I don't agree with that. Just my opinion.
And maybe we should be reviewing our contract with GAR to see if we have any report on GAR. Maybe GAR should cough up $200. I don't know.
It was, what had happened is, you know, a family member had come into the house and seen all the paperwork, the reval information and all the, you know, bills and the homeowner just wasn't able to take care of.
My only concern, Mr. Heff, with, well, I understand your request. It would open the door for every Article 7 to have this same relief going forward.
Maybe the door should be a double wide.
And I just want to make sure that that's out there. that-
Well, you know, when you're wrong, you're wrong. And you shouldn't say I'm wrong, but I gotta have the dollars. That's
And
not
all
right.
Laura and I can follow is what the law says, and that's all I can
Right.
relate.
But is there a creative way that these people don't have to pay the penalty?
There's no relief this board can give. If somebody else wanted to cough up the $205 to help them out, that's a possibility. But there can't be waived. We don't
No, I
have the
understand it can't
ability-
be waived, but is there a creative way for some other entity to pay that?
And that I would have to look into, maybe have some information for you Friday at the board meeting, but in my experience, I'm gonna say no. But I'm not gonna say that I won't look into it.
So. Brian, do we need to table this until we find out, or does that penalty part not part of this?
Part of the amendment was to pay the interest.
You could send this, you could send the amended A to the floor on Friday, we can discuss it then. If there needs to be another amendment on the floor, we can get it done,
So we're amending it to,
to include the interest, right up the interest,
Right up
under
the
the same
interest.
section
You know,
of law that.
The interest, but not the penalty.
This has turned out to be one of our better discussions we've had here in a long time, because what Dana's brought up, what Dan has brought up are very important that we have to remember as our rural government is you are accountable for your own actions. Like if you don't get your bill, you still owe your taxes. You can't just say, I didn't get the bill, don't pay them. And like Dan said, they had their opportunity to look at them. They probably did need help. And maybe their family members or somebody else. I don't know how you get a house on their own property. I just don't even know how it costs. But I guess I.
Can't imagine. Mine's coming later
so
this
when you
year.
don't visit property,
But I-
you just look on
Yeah,
satellite.
I would correct everything that we could correct. But I don't want to put it to a point where you're making every taxpayer in the county pay absorbent fee because you opened a can of worms to create a bigger problem than what we already have.
Well, the real property tax law is very predatory against the taxpayer. And just because it's that way, we shouldn't say, oh, that's the way it is.
Well, unless the law backs it up, we can't do anything about it, then we don't have a choice other than to change the law.
Well, you can always do something about it. You just have to be imaginative and.
So we've made the
Amendment.
amendment, motion in a second. So any more discussion?
Made a motion in a second to bring it back on the floor.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all in favor of aye on that.
Aye.
Now a motion to relieve the interest,
Yeah, so moved.
which was 350.
356 and change. 346, whatever.
Whatever it is, we'll get that number in. Okay. Any more comments on that?
346.
And the penalty was 208,
206.26.
so the penalty is the majority of that.
No.
No, that's.
It's an
on top of it.
Oh, it's
addition.
an addition.
In addition,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
I'll pass the hat on Friday, we'll come up with 200.
Here's a beautiful hat right here. I'll pass it around.
Same guy you were
I might not get it back.
A couple months ago.
Well, it depends upon the day.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Chairman, I would just like to point out that this is a very historical day, because this is the first time I've ever heard supervisor have saying they have the people in Harvard pay somebody else's bill.
Sometimes when it's right, it's right.
You know, it's time for him to get that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna go back on him.
You want to inherit this?
Somebody has to.
Yeah.
Very good. Resolution B. District seven payment of return blues tax. Is that what they want?
That's it.
That's Al.
Oh. And anybody-
You wanna do that, Al? We're on order by one.
C and D are related, one's to have me accept the return of the village taxes and the school taxes. And just remember, this is also where I have the ability to collect for the last 2 weeks in November. Give the taxpayers another chance to pay before that 7% rate levy goes on. It will be late this year to have a discussion about it, but at some point we probably should, whether we want to continue that practice or not. The only downside of it is it delays the printing of the bills. And if that's not something that's a concern of yours, then I would just say continue to practice, Mr. Hack.
The 7% re-levy.
Yes, sir.
I never knew that before.
Yeah.
Is that a penalty, interest? There's,
That's a penalty.
because the interest always continues,
Correct.
Right.
and that 7% penalty is on top of the 5% penalty that was already
So when
collected.
your school and village goes on your town and county bill, there's an additional 7% penalty on that.
But they already incurred a 5% penalty.
No,
Prior to
not on the
that.
school and village. You only get the 5% penalty on the town and county.
Oh, okay.
Everything else, schools.
But if that school or village re-levy gets a 7% re-levy, and then they say after April 1st, those 7% re-levies, then get a 5%. So it just gets compounded.
Snowballs. Yeah,
It snowballs.
well, they're trying to decentivize not paying taxes. That's what it's all about,
But some people can't get out of that hole.
right?
And if they reverse the order of collection, make it where you pay the most recent year,
Oldest.
we paid,
You wanna see them be able to pay the oldest like they used to be.
yes, and they reset the clock when they do that.
And it makes.
Is there any move?
Here,
It's still on the table.
Assemblywoman Warner continues to try to fight that fight. And someday I think she probably will be successful, especially in light of the new Supreme Court rulings and everything regarding surplus. I think you will see traction on both the interest number and on the reverse chronological order. I think you'll see movement on both of those items. I don't think so.
No, it's high right now.
And it may surprise you to hear, but I actually am not opposed to the reverse order change. Whether I get this year's tax from you or 2 years ago tax from you, if I get a year every year, why do I care what year it is? And if it keeps you in your home, why wouldn't we do that?
And you.
I know that's not a popular opinion in some of my peers, but I don't personally have any issue with being, if you could pay only 1 year, I'd love to keep you in your house. So we're in the tax collection business, not the real estate. So that's. Mr. Shaw.
With that mindset, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong,
Well, thank you.
but technically, what we raise in taxes every year is how many million do we raise? 36, 38 million in taxes every year?
Well, that's the levy.
The levies.
Yeah, well, that's what
The
we're
levies
raising.
are on 30, but sometimes we get it, some.
Well, here's the thing, your thing, if you pay the latest one first, everybody eventually could say, I'm gonna let you carry 2 years of tax.
But you chronically, if you do.
Yeah, but look at the interest.
You chronically pay interest, so the
Yeah.
county wins.
You end up getting more
Well,
money.
no, because if it is, it goes on to that 1 year, it won't be 3 years out before you have to pay the interest on it. But you're
The
still
first
carrying-
time,
Huh?
but if you could do that every year and just pay the oldest year,
Yeah,
after you skip the 3 years,
yeah,
the interest will make up for more than what that is.
but we're carrying $60 million in debt
Well,
and back
it
tax.
won't happen with all
Well, let's say it did. I
Well, it
mean,
can't.
we're opening
of
that
them. It
door.
can't, because the bank will escrow theirs, right? Bank's gonna escrow theirs, but
Some.
probably have them.
Some will, yeah.
Yeah, the bank's gonna make it.
Anybody with a mortgage is gonna have an escrow payment. on it.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
Your good-
not
your
really.
Good payers are gonna continue to be good payers because they're not gonna want to pay anything.
I wonder how many mortgages have escrow.
You'd
A lot.
be surprised. We actually have a lot of bank.
Mine doesn't.
I see them, well, ask your town clerk.
I had to specifically say no escrow.
Yeah.
Right, but if you ask your town clerk, she can tell you the amount that come in, just.
I mean,
They
yeah,
compound with the village and the school, if they
Sure.
get dumped onto the county's paying the village and the school, and then waiting 2 years to get paid back.
But it's a rolling 2 years, Mr. Shaw, so.
I know it's rolling,
and
but
that
it's
helps.
still. you're
So you
carrying
got
it.
7% from the town, or from the school tax,
Mhm.
and you got, so you're gonna have like 20% by the time they pay them.
I don't think
It's a
your good
huge
payers are
number.
gonna stop being good payers. You're not gonna wanna pay the interest at all.
I just wanted to share that thought.
Yeah, understood.
No, it's a great discussion,
Let it go
because,
fast.
yeah. Okay, so C and D, we have a motion.
So returning to the original discussion here. What Al was talking about was, getting his, not allowing this later collection so that we can get our tax bills out more rapidly. What he didn't tell you is that we've been doing that forever. About half the counties in the state do that. And our tax collectors now can get the tax bills as soon as Al does the warrant. They can just pull up their computer, so we have a lot of, the issue comes up with rural towns like mine, and a lot of farmers that want to come in and get that paid in December. And whether they've got a tax bill in their hand or not, they come into the town clerk's office and say, hey, I want to know when the bill is, and pay it right then. So it's not, I don't think this is an issue. I don't even I would be against you bringing it up.
And after my talk with Mr. Henke yesterday, I'm gonna proactively reach out to all 17 town collectors and let them know, because my gut tells me that they may not even know that they don't need that piece of paper to collect the bill. If
I
it,
mean, that's really,
once it's in my system, they could collect the tax, whether the person's got the piece of paper in their hand or
I
not.
mean, that's fairly recent, so.
In addition, a lot of the people that the snowbirds going out where they stay for the holidays
Yeah.
and they want it paid before.
They want it paid before they
They have
leave.
a lot of questions
And I
about
know
that.
that when we took over collecting from Port Ann, I was actually surprised at the number of people that have a December schedule, that's when they pay that bill.
And to tie that all together, where Dan went. You want those people to pay in December to make up for the ones that don't roll it 2 or 3 years if that change happens, so. You need for cash flow, so. Okay,
You guys see any?
C and D, I think did we have a motion? Motion to move C and D. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good. You report now, Al.
Okay. Is everybody got a copy of the report?
Yeah.
Probably. So I'm lucky enough to be able to report good news again this morning. Our sales tax deposit that says it's for tomorrow, I actually am able to get early from the comptroller's website. And it was 196,000 over the same time last year, puts us almost 1.3 million over this time last year. So I'm pleased to be able to report that. I just don't know. I have no crystal ball to project anything because the Fed keeps trying to raise interest rates to slow spending, and I think that even if they're slowing spending, you're paying more for what you're buying, so it's kind of found
Is
a,
it genetic for treasurers to be pessimistic?
yes,
Okay.
successful
Good
treasure.
question.
So if it stayed flat the rest of the year, we're spending that.
So I think that the reason it's important today is because you're all getting ready to start budget workshops. And what our new, water level for sales tax is gonna end up becoming a bone of contention for a lot of those discussions. We've got some significant challenges. I was joking with Mr. Henke and Mr. Campbell yesterday that I feel a little bit like the boy who cried wolf, because I caution you every year, it feels like, and then I come back in May and tell you we had a surplus. But I assure you that I'm entering this budget discussion this year very trepidatious, I'm thinking of the word, because there really is some significant hurdles this year that were not in place before,
I
so.
just don't believe you, Al. That's it.
So I'm okay with that, because I'll go on the record saying, please don't do that.
You will soon believe me, because the great state of New York has put us in a situation where they're bankrupt and will soon not be paying us.
And
So he will be correct eventually.
I
The
had
government
to.
will see to it.
I had to deliver some bad news to Mr. Campbell yesterday, that our retirement bill is going from 4.1 to 5.2. I just got a preliminary bill yesterday for next December. So that was not great news to deliver to Mr. Campbell, but I'm glad that I got it now.
All we saved on code blue, you just got rid of.
Yeah, I took 1 step forward and 2 steps back. So, but anyway, the sales tax is actually the best part of the report.
And just as an aside, that's on a retirement system that's making it more in growth and interest than they're paying out the retirees right now by, a couple $1 million.
Our former county administrator and I used to have this conversation that if they took 3% of the fund every year in outflows, but we're making 5.5 to 7, it never
Why
made
are
any
they
sense why the
increasing
rates were.
Yeah.
If your net flow is, because we went from 88 to 97% funded. I mean, at what point do you stop growing on the backs of the counties? I mean, wow, $5.2 million is a lot of money for Washington County. I mean,
But I think the bigger issue there is just the whole economy is probably a bunch of cards, and when that stock market drops in half, you'll see that.
but I think we've already, so the problem is, his measurement date is March 31st.
Yeah.
We've already recovered from the numbers that were in the market in March,
Well, you might not have recovered from where it might be headed.
but yeah.
That's
But
what
it's
they're-
just, it's a hard pill to swallow when there's growth and you still get nailed.
What is there, 292 billion sitting in there, something like that?
It's a
You
lot.
would think that would cover some of the retirement.
Isn't it the biggest employer too?
Sorry?
In the state, the retirement system, one of the biggest employers. I used to say when I was on the board, why would I take my $12 a year retirement in the town board so that 2 more people can get a job? Manage it. I'm full of it today.
So,
First time I've been in air conditioner.
one of the items that I was tasked with last month, I gave you some sales tax categories. And one of the categories was direct selling establishments, and there was a question posed on what that contained. And Mr. O'Brien was able to find kind of a little thumbnail of what he could Google. I've got a little better description because Mr. Hogan had tasked me with coming back with kind of what actually is in there. And what I found was actually kind of interesting, and maybe it'll make sense after I read this to you. So direct selling establishments primarily engaged in the retail sale of merchandise by telephone, by house-to-house canvas, or from trucks or wagons or other temporary locations. Included in this industry are individuals who sell products by these methods and who are not employees of the organization which they represent, and the establishments which are retail sales offices from which employees operate to sell from merchandise door to door, including bakery goods purchased house to house, canvassers door to door, dairy products house to house, direct selling organizations door to door, house delivery of purchased milk, house to house selling of coffee, soda, beer, bottled water, and others, ice cream wagons, lunch wagons, and mobile retail. That's the one that really struck out to me, because we've seen such an expansion of like food trucks, and that environment has really become a kitschy thing in the world. So I would imagine, especially in our county, food trucks might be a driving factor in some of that door to door. It's gonna be things like the Schwans, right? It's magazine subscriptions, magazines house to house, milk delivery and sale of purchased milk, newspapers, home delivery, except newspapers, printers, or party plan merchandising.
Those are all the businesses.
So that was an interesting list when I finally was able to get a little deeper dive into what.
They
that
list
category
milkmen?
was. I'm sorry?
Home delivered milk, there's such a
Yeah.
thing.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that was still a thing. My
I
grandfather.
think
used to put-
King's Dairy does.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the King's boxes on sale all the time, Facebook, yeah. But I think that the one that stuck out to me the most, I think, was the food trucks, because they seem like they're all over, and they have these food truck corrals and everything now that have become very popular. The thing that I'll only take a second to talk about, because I know you got a lot to do today. I've received 2 phone calls recently, and it's a phone call that I've received for 12 years, and it's frustrating because every time we take a step forward, we get knocked back. We have several pieces of our county that are Washington County properties, but have other county zip codes. One of the ones that's really frustrating right now is our friends up in the IDA Industrial Park. There's some large businesses in there that have Washington County properties, but have 12804 Queensbury mailing address. And what's happening is a lot of the vendors are using that 12804 zip code as their sales tax remittance. And we're talking, I mean, when these guys are buying $500,000, skid steers or loaders or whatever they're buying large pieces of equipment, and they're getting their invoice and it shows, Warren County 7% on it. I mean, to their credit, a lot of the businesses have actually picked up the phone and made the vendor fix it. But how much are we not catching, right? Because those are some large ticket purchases. And we've always had that same problem down in the southern end, Buskirk, Scotticoke, that spurred on the southern tier. And it's even worse for them because they're actually paying 8% of paying rents of their county taxes. So I'm gonna continue working. I'm gonna invoke the aid of Mr. Stack to see. Tax and Finance has not been able to help me. The best advice they can give me is to tell the business that they use a 4-digit extension on zip code. That will help, but it still won't alleviate. So I just wanted to kind of report to you in case you all start getting phone calls, because they're coming into me again. It seems like they cycle. I had a couple of reports from the Fort Ann area as well that have that same issue. And we continue to try to chip away at it. We work with vendors. In 2012, I developed what's called a resident card. So if a taxpayer reaches out to me, I actually give them a card that we've had some success with. that they can present to a vendor and show them that I'm certifying that they are Washington County address. Tax and Finance now does have a jurisdictional rate lookup tool, that if you punch in their address, it'll actually show you the jurisdiction, it'll come up clearly as Washington County 7%. And we've had some success in presenting that printout from the web, from Tax and Finance.
If you look up the ones in the park, does that hold true?
So we've actually found one that they actually had as Warren County. I've been successful in getting the Tax and Finance database fixed. So I continue to chip away at it, but it's, I feel like it's, you know,
Maybe we should task the head of the IDA with it.
but I just wanted to let you know in case the phone calls start coming at the town level too. It is something they're aware of. I continue to try to work at it, but it's literally beating your head against the wall because I don't seem to make any traction. So I'm gonna try.
Well,
Senator
it's almost like our broadband. You've got 97%, but then that last 3% is gonna be tough.
But the 3% that I don't have,
Yeah.
there's some
It's a big
big,
number.
there's some big numbers there that, you know, while they're still only paying 7%, 3% of that's going to the wrong account. Right. So I'm gonna try invoking Mr. Stack to see if there's anything at all that we can do. I've done everything that I can do locally to try to affect change. Cash balances are attached. I like providing those to you because when our committee gets together, you might want to know if you got enough cash for your bills, right? And the other upside is, as you can see, our ITS, the investment account that we use for our cash right now is now at 5.10%. Not a terrible number, considering we were at 0.15 not all that long ago. So while we might be paying more for things, at least we're making a little bit of an interest income.
What number are we using for the budget for this year?
I don't know that we've settled on a number yet.
What is it right now? I mean, I think everyone will be surprised how big that number is.
I know that we're gonna exceed budget. There's no way that we're not. I think that
We didn't know this was gonna.
1 month's interest right now is more than we had budgeted. My memory is. I'm just gonna check that for you. Yeah. Good.
I assume every town is fitting quite well.
And those of you that are still using, you know, another vehicle, you know, I'm imagining that you're doing okay too. So we budgeted 350,000 and through July, because I have August is on my desk right now, not posted. So through July, we're at 822 with 350 budget. And you've got August, September, October, November, and December yet to go.
So you finally brought us real good news.
Well, that's, you know.
Yeah, but he said it could change.
Well,
I'm subject to revote.
Well, you think about it, you can change that in the budget, and that whole amount that you change is gonna be eaten by retirements.
About what you can gain in interest, you're gonna lose in the retirement.
You're gonna look for retirements. It's good news for this year,
Now,
but next year one's gonna eat the other.
and I would encourage the budget officer to not go to the max next year, because right now, my early projections are, we will have less cash on hand.
Yeah,
So with less cash on hand, even if you get the same interest rate, you're gonna get less.
well, then the rates may start down.
And I don't know when they'll start down, they'll at least flatten out. But anyway, that's, you know, a little spark of good news. As far as the budget to actual stuff. General fund was trending a little bit behind, but what I did think was interesting and worth noting. The taxes receivable number this time last year was almost 8.6 million, and it's just under 8.1 now. So even without having the auction in July, our tax receivable is down $500,000. So I'm not sad about that. So some people have taken an opportunity of the extra time and settle up their delinquencies. So that's,
So you couldn't say I'm happy about that.
I am happy about that.
Oh,
Because that's, you know, there's people still in their homes and have enough time to save their home. So I'll call that a win all day. And there's $500,000 off our books. I'll take that anytime. The only kind of early warning that I want to kind of throw across the table today to be discussed later is right now, we have some significantly increased health insurance claims. So as you know, in June, we went self-insured. So we couldn't pick a worse time to have an increase in claims. We do have a meeting with Benetech scheduled on the 20th. I want to report back to you next month after that meeting and kind of see if they see some spikes that are going to level out, or if we need to take some preemptive actions to kind of, but I'm seeing a higher than normal outflow from our self-insurance fund.
You know, we can change it in next year's budget, you gotta remember the year.
We're locked
ends
into-
June. So,
Yeah, our years go from June to
so we
May.
can't change rates until the next calendar year, so, the county's gonna be on the hook for any misfortunes there.
So I don't wanna, I don't wanna raise any the sky is falling signs yet, but I have some early concerns that I may have to report back.
I knew he was gonna nuke it sooner or later.
The clouds might be getting a little long.
If you stick around long enough, Mr. O'Brien, I'll send you a cloud, don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last thing in my packet that, all of you kind of are interested in, because I believe you're in your budget cycles are as well. I've given you the Duke County numbers for this year. As you remember, we have a September 1st measurement date. So, I just gotta wait till September 1st to get those numbers locked in for you. And remember that under our new process, the 4 of you that have negative numbers will actually get a check from me. Those of you that have credit will actually receive the money back in form of a check. Mr. Hatt.
Great question. Kingsbury every year gets a credit. This year they have a payment. That's kind of weird. Every year a credit, this year a big payment.
And there's 2 things that drive the Duke County. It's the surplus or deficit on the roll production and corrected bills. So that's a factor that you can't control the other.
This
one.
doesn't include any omitted.
This won't be your pro rata taxes, no.
Another question on this, and looking at the detail of each town. I see that 2 towns that are in the Washington County Sewer District have a bill. Do they not pay their meters regularly? So this is like the sewer district bill for the Kingsbury Town Hall, Kingsbury Court. Do they not pay their meter monthly, or do they wait till the end of the year?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do they not pay their water meter monthly? Or do they wait till the end of the year to pay their sewer bill? Because I see Port Edward has a Duke County, the water sewer district, so it's
So
whatever.
those are gonna be corrected bills in those districts. It's not a factor of somebody not paying.
Oh, this isn't the town of
It's not
Kingsbury not paying.
municipal, right?
No, this is corrected bills within that town.
Okay.
So those are the numbers that you need. Remember, we'd like to know by October 1st if you're going to let it ride on your levy or if you're going to pay direct and make it go away. Some of you choose pretty much every year to pay it and make it go away. Remember, those of you that don't pay your bill, it does get added to your levy in January.
Not part of the tax cap. though.
Not yours, mine.
Okay.
But your taxpayers get burdened with the exercise. That's all I have for you this time. You need an invoice?
Delivered.
Very good. I need the rest of the budget of that. Okay, we're at duty mental health for the Joe Aaron, but your program. So, I gave, so that my discussion. All favors say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mental health is, act for additional school day services. Second. Dave, any discussion? All favors say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. G is then, remove, carry over.
Second.
Any discussion? All favor say aye.
Aye.
H is, safety net for code blue funding.
Move it.
Second,
And I want to mention this, the great job by Tammy. There's a lot of credit for this. The part that scares me most isn't that we got the funding. Is the fact that
We needed.
we don't, we need the funding. The fact of the matter is that hopefully no one freezes to death or has in Washington County, or not to a magnitude that we've ever heard of. It just seems like a lot of money to just make sure that doesn't happen.
It's almost $1 million.
Yeah.
Do we really have that much of a need for code blue, $1 million worth?
Well, there's a lot of things that come under it, so like your homeless people that they have to get in shelters and motel rooms, whatever, when it gets cold. You pay for that too.
But $1 million is $1 million.
The
Yeah,
number she presented to committee was 720.
was 720 something, yeah.
So it was actually money out the door already.
So it's amazing how big and bad it is, but if we got everybody convinced to go to a shelter when it was cold, this could be 10 million and that would be a bad thing, so our role of government here is gonna be important. Going forward in how we handle these situations, because this could become a number that,
They go to Warren County for this, right? Contracted.
yeah. So, well, then there'd be some motels here that would get used to, we do contract. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Aye, budget for local assistance, tribal consistency.
Well, this assignment.
Is there a second? James Griffith. Any discussion?
What does the regional planning board do with this?
they're giving assistance to businesses
Local
and
business.
companies to
Well,
train them and help them make sure they understand what they have to move going forward. So to help improve the business so they survive, or helping them find new loan funds or different things that they can.
Or buy an electronic sign for the municipal center? That's what this is for.
Half of it.
That's,
That's what, Dana Hogan not here. I'll speak for both of us. What a waste of money.
Well, so when you
Electronic sign.
retire, we can put your picture out there, day and a half.
Well, can we do like they do for Bob Hanky and Dale O'Brien, use a photo that's like 10 years old? So complete waste of money, $50,000 for an electronic sign. Oh, my God.
It will be located, where the current one is, that's falling apart up front.
Not much of a
The
change.
bricks are all,
Same exact
didn't
picture,
really
same
need it,
photo.
we would replace that one.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed,
I think I'm gonna be a no.
carried.
you had to do it today.
We have nothing. Okay, Jay, amend planning budget to carry over on septic replacement grant.
Second,
Moved by Kathy, second by Dave, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
I'm-
carried.
Question, is this utilized?
Yes, it's
Really?
actually taken off and is working well now.
Since administration took over the administration, it's been actually very well done.
And to qualify that, it must be a low income type of thing, I would imagine.
No.
You have to have a failing system and be willing to invest half of the money yourself.
No, all the money. You front all of it.
Well, right,
What's the
but then
backup?
they'll get
And
half
you get
back.
10.
Yeah, you have to be willing to.
And how does the homeowner know about this program?
We sent letters to all the, so we
It's
had,
around the lake.
we had Laura's GIS person give us the properties that are eligible. We sent out letters to all of the eligible homes.
Twice.
Twice,
Yeah, virtually all the homeowners that are on Lake George are very tuned into this.
All right, so if you live in Hartford, this is waterfront grant.
Right, Scassiuna.
We know it's some specific ones right now, but it could be subject to expansion if the money's not used.
What about a 3-acre pond?
And
So the
No, we-
administration's
I'm getting at
gonna give us an
the,
update on the actual
Yeah.
numbers.
We received two amounts of money for this grant. One was $250,000, and then the next amount was the $490,000. We have been getting the money out quite regularly lately. I think the administration of the grant has gone a lot smoother than it was prior. So of the $740,000, we have $441,000 left. So there's still a lot of money there that we can give out to eligible people. So we're gonna continue to get that information out, and hopefully people can utilize that fund.
Who administers the Lake George Regional Planning Board?
We do.
Restricted funds.
Do we have a breakdown of, which locations have, what's the percentage for Lake George to Cassiuna? Have we gotten any on Cassiuna?
Yes. I don't have the percentage.
But I'll bet it's 80% of it.
That's.
Or Lake Champlain.
Yeah,
too.
what Lake George, our commission has done is they've got a program, they're gonna do a certain percentage per year, those inspections. So they're not gonna be compelled to replace
Until they get.
they're up for inspection. So that's where you're gonna get,
And I think,
it's a distribution to try to cover.
I think on Cassiuna, there's more that could be done,
Yeah,
but because what's the max, 10,000?
yeah.
And some of them could get into a lot of money, they're kind of hesitant to.
I heard too.
Like Lauderdale in this.
It's gonna cost you
No,
20 or
just
30,000, 10,000.
Because it's,
Multi-jurisdiction.
no, it's the Champlain watershed.
Right, right.
And Lauderdale and Hedges don't come into that, but Cassiuna does.
Cassiuna, Champlain, and not the Hudson River.
According to the breakdown on the thing, I am.
I think it has something to do with the tributary or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
yeah.
Some of the water hits north. some of it there.
I've been pleased with where the program's gone, to Melissa allowed us to take it over. I'm more than happy to put claims in monthly if we need these.
Is there an end date on the? What is it?
All the water's.
Yeah, I know, I don't recall the date is.
I know it came out of my committee, so I apologize.
You'd like to know, right, Nick?
I hope it goes on for at least 5 years.
Yeah,
That's the cycle for Lake George they have.
I think what you're gonna, well, I think what you end up seeing is if the expiration date is sooner, they're just gonna continue to push it out. Yeah.
Did we vote on that?
We got a bunch of it. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, the biggest concern we have on Lake George, there's some lots that we know will probably fail and may not have enough terrain.
Right.
to Put a system in that's acceptable to today's standards, then it's gonna be a big open question.
Okay.
And
so
that's
your-
the.
I received is fall of 2026 or until the funds are depleted.
Okay. Very good.
Christie in my office, who's actually administering the program.
Very good.
And it, just for one last footnote, the 176 that's in the resolution is the balance only on the 250. We haven't even started that second tranche of award amounts.
Okay, resolution K is to carry forward unspent grant money to WRP trail grant.
Need a motion. Second.
By Kathy, second by Daryl, any discussion?
Who is LWRP? What is that?
It's whatever the acronym is of the funding agency. right?
It's the bike-
Whatever.
They just have the bike trail that's north that
Yeah, this,
above around Whitehall.
this trail grant is for the bike trail, but I don't know the agency that acronym is for.
Yeah.
This is one that, if you remember, started back in 2019, and then it was paused. It's now restarting again. So that's why you'll see in the resolution, the additional resolves for the chairman to sign any documents as a waiver from procurement. Because there are gonna be, those original contracts have either expired or are expiring, so they'll need. So they
Yeah.
can kind of restart all those.
And Chazen was doing it, they got bought by Lobella, so you're gonna see name changes and everything.
So those extra resolves are just to kind of make sure that I'd rather have them and not need them, than need them and not have them, so they're there.
So, right enough, that rail line is gonna go the same place CHB is going. They're trying to
Yeah,
coordinate
I-
because
I know you spoke to Laura,
I
yeah,
gotta
complaining about that.
go back and find them.
So my short's out, places, it's not.
That's right. Not the same.
Figure it out.
If they have electric bikes, they'll pick up speed.
The role the treasurer county pays that. Renterism.
But it's 24,000 that is paid by the occupancy tax. That's about our annual collection of occupancy tax.
No.
I know.
Well, because of Airbnbs.
Right.
I think it used to be like
It
28,000.
used to be like 18.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So real quick, local
Water.
waterfront revitalization program.
Well, they get,
Right along
they
with
get
them.
septic, they get trails,
You get everything.
they get food trucks.
If they're smart, they do.
You're like 370,000.
Okay, resolution L is to carry forward unspent grant money, Board of Elections postage grant.
Second.
Okay, move by Darrell, second by Dave, any discussion? Favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution M to recognize Board of Elections, another postage grant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
The other thing I want the board to know, I have early indications from the election commissioners that New York State Board of Elections is gonna free up the postage money to be used for any eligible expenses. I'll believe it when I see it, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there that they got 20,000 last year and only used 4. So the chances of them using 15 and another 20 when they only used 4 last year are pretty slim. But the early indications are they may open this funding up to more than just postage, so stay tuned on that.
That's gonna be like Wheel of Fortune, instead of buying a bottle, you buy a ballot.
But that was good.
Oh, Jesus,
That's good.
quickly move.
That was really my question, if we didn't spend last year's grant for 15,000, 20,000, where are we getting another one? What are we gonna do with it?
Use it.
But that might be the answer, if they,
And that is,
that might be the answer.
We put it in Al's fund and it makes interest for us.
well, that's true.
Unfortunately, the reimbursement one, so I don't get the benefit of that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution N is recognized Board of Elections, tier grant, no amendment to the project.
Second.
And again, the only thing that I want to know on this one, because I only found out about it yesterday, so you haven't heard it until today. The commissioners are recommending that this capital grant be applied to the machines that they bought. So you'll see that I wrote this resolution out to the capital project that we bought the machines out of. So that wasn't a board decision, that was a recommendation from the commissioners. So I want to make sure that if you have any questions or concerns, that you know that that's something that just came up yesterday. It hadn't gone through committee or anything like that. I think it's a great idea to use it for the machines, but you all haven't seen that yet, so I just wanted to kind of note that it wasn't set here by any committee that it was.
And also to be in the back of my mind, that if they ended up having to buy something more, they at least return some money for.
And this way you'll know the money's getting
You
used.
never know what election is gonna cost.
We can apply for that money tomorrow and get it.
Is this something they just received notification on?
It was awarded in April.
So they didn't have a chance all the time to come it out, so they can get it out of committee.
We tried a couple times to get their grants lasted down and
Okay,
just, there was some communication issues between Albany and us.
I thought, if there's no April time for you, what you should ask.
Government ops chair could be upset.
I think it's just like the state budget, when we first heard it was passed. We didn't hear all the bad news, but it took 3 or 4 months for them to relay how bad it really was.
It was only a couple of weeks ago that we got the detailed breakdown from State Board of Elections on the fiscal year postage, the fiscal year tier. And they have a little chart that they give to Tom, but we recently.
It's a couple things that's all right.
Government ops chair.
Good.
Okay, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution O, carry forward unspent grant money in the WQI.
Second. Moved by Jay.
Oh. Moved by Jay, second by Cassie. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. The salary grade schedule changes.
So, yeah, so that was the request. that they-
Personnel.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So changing the base salary, from the $75,833 to $83,933.
Basically, the warden of the jail, they oversee everything with ours. That need to be replaced. So. Anyway. Motion to approve. Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Unpaid contract managed long-term care.
That came out of, right, of Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
Right, so Gina, had asked to have that contract. And you would need authorization for the chairman to sign the contract. And also you would need a waiver of the
Procurement.
procurement policy, which was not asked at committee, I don't believe.
I think.
I thought it was brought up, but I can't find it in a minute.
Mentioned.
It was mentioned, but we didn't vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Move it,
So I think there's some discussion, at least at the outset, there will be one person covered everything.
there is.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now.
And the other thing was what we hadn't seen the contract yet, so we're
Right.
waiting to see.
You know, we see the contract yet.
I haven't seen.
So we're still waiting on that at Friday's meeting.
If you want to see the contract before. Yeah, there's no opportunity to get that contract too.
So,
The language in the resolution only says subject to the approval of the county attorney, so I think you're covered.
so we're good. Very good.
Are we voting on it this time?
Let's vote on it this time.
Move it.
All in favor?
Did we move it yet?
We gotta do two separate, one to waive procurement.
It's authorize and sign and waive procurement.
Let's do it together.
Moved it.
Second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. That puts the lawyer in the hot seat on this last Friday.
You set him up.
Prep Roger. Prep Roger.
Okay, budget stuff, since you see, we all got, meetings coming up on the budget.
Yeah. Debbie, did you get contacted by Laura Oswald yesterday? She thought that she might need a resolution operating the chairman to sign some stuff on an application that she's doing. Did she contact? I sent her to your office. I don't know if she got
Yeah,
anybody.
I'm not sure, but she brought that up at her ag planning committee
She's doing an application that's due on the 20th or something.
for that 1 million from.
Right, that the USDA grant, she needs authorization for the chairman to jump through those hoops too.
Give us a motion for that. Dave, second. Yeah. Jim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. And then I think that also, well, no, that won't need exemption for procurement because she put up a bid on.
Right.
We'll see you there. So
We'll see on Friday. Right?
it should just be an authorization to sign resolution.
Yeah, okay.
Very good. Okay, so the last thing we have is a quick executive session and we will adjourn out of that meeting unless, did you have anything for us? Bob?
He's here
Or
for-
the-
He's for the executive, sorry, in the executive session is to discuss matters which may or will impair the public safety if disclosed.
Okay. So, motion to go into executive session. For Daryl.
Hope it's not about masks.
I had a question about tomorrow before we're gonna adjourn out of executive, so this, I wanted to, but tomorrow's meeting, we still on ACC, finance committee?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just need to get a feel of, when you're today, you're gonna be here tomorrow? 'Cause we need-
You're not gonna get a quorum of finance.
we're not. Okay. I thought I was asking today, so we're running around tomorrow trying to get up, we can't get up. So we got Dave, Brian, and Jim, and said he'd be there.
No, no Clary. No me. No Fedler.
Oh, ha.
No have.
It's gonna be raining.
There's still other things in my life. That are scheduled in advance.
I want to say no, but she.
Half Hicks, Feather, Skelly, Hogan, Larry, Rodell, and then we'll, yeah, there's no way.
So, no, so we only had three of the ones that. Myself, one.
We can't move it. That's not
I could- I might be able to change
Will, I
these now.
think
Well, let's show us.
We can't vote anything down.
we'll have Campbell, O'Brien, and Burke.
An absent vote is a no vote. You have to have yes.
So Squeak by
You
there.
can't say yes or not.
I know we can say, yeah, we can say.
Is it a war count? Do you know what a war count is?
Is to combine. Okay. So all in favor for executive session, say aye.
What's it? Green socks too, that away.